calmly to watch the failing breath, wishing each sigh might be the last, longing to see the shade of death o'er those beloved features cast. Charlotte Bronte said that. As we begin to put this year away, I will talk about who died today. Actually, that's not true, so let me tweak. A couple of folks died this past week. One died very young, but authored a book. One could read a whole page in one single look. One ran a studio, he was a Western producer, and a Hungarian-American audience seducer. Let's go. On this day, in 1848, English novelist and poet Emily Bronte died at the age of 30 of tuberculosis. She was the younger sister of Charlotte Bronte from our opening quote today, also a writer. She wrote many poems, but famously published only one book, Wuthering Heights, now considered an English classic. It was first published in 1847, originally under the pseudonym of Alice Bell. It tells the story of a young man on retreat who gets snowed in at his landlord's strange country home. He is forced to stay the night and is visited by a ghost named Catherine in his sleep. English singer-songwriter Kate Bush adapts the story from Catherine, the ghost's point of view, in her 1978 single, Wuthering Heights. What incarnation is wuthering? Well, it means blustery and turbulent, and often describes the fierce, noisy winds that blow across the moors, which is where the story is set. I sometimes forget what the symptoms are of these older diseases that we don't encounter very much in the modern world. Tuberculosis is an infectious bacterial disease characterized by the growth of nodules, or tubercles, primarily in lung tissue. Victims of the disease often cough blood. While this is what eventually killed Bronte, her health was most likely weakened by the harsh local climate and by unsanitary conditions at home in northern England, where water was contaminated by runoff from the church's graveyard. While at her older brother Branwell's funeral, Emily caught a severe cold, which quickly developed into inflammation of the lungs and led to the tuberculosis. Bronte was said to be a mysterious figure with a touch of the macabre. In one quote, we understand that she might have been vocal about gender equality. In this quote, I also feel is both inspiring and macabre. What our souls are made of, his and mine, are the same. Both men and women have souls, I guess. Duh. On this day in 2009, American savant Lawrence Kim Peake died of a heart attack at the age of 58. Peake, who went by Kim, was often called a mega savant for his exceptional memory. The 1988 movie Rain Man, starring Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman as the fictional savant Raymond Babbitt, is inspired by Kim Peake's life. Peake's special abilities started early, around the age of a year and a half. He could read both pages of an open book at once, one page with one eye and the other with his other eye. This style of reading continued until his death. His reading comprehension was impressive. He would retain 98% of the information he read. Since he spent most of his days in the library with his dad, he quickly made it through thousands of books, encyclopedia, and maps. Though he was strongly introverted, he did not have difficulties with social understandings and communication. Therefore, he was not autistic. Instead, his special abilities came from the lack of connections between the right and left hemispheres of his brain. This rare condition is often called split brain syndrome. Another anomaly that people with split brain syndrome usually have is split personality disorder. Peake did not. And as you may have heard yesterday, Hungarian-American actress and socialite Zsa Zsa Gabor died of a heart attack at the age of 99. Gabor and her two also famous sisters, Eva and Magda, were all born in Budapest, but later immigrated to the United States to begin working in film and television. Zsa Zsa was famously married 9 times, having divorced 7, and that was throughout her life. And this led to her great wisdom of marriage and men. You never really know a man until you've divorced him, and I'm a marvelous housekeeper. Every time I leave a man, I keep his house, are examples of these wise words. She also called everyone darling, like that with like an H. Her reason is, I call everyone darling because I can't remember their names. In her lifestyle video series, It's simple, darling. Gabor teaches us that maintaining a thoughtful and healthy lifestyle is simple if you have bodybuilders as manservants to stretch your body for you as you flirt with them. Here's a taste. But it's all broken. So author Gerald Frank, who helped Gabor write her autobiography, says that Jaja is unique. She's a woman from the court of Louis XV who has somehow managed to live in the 20th century undamaged. She says she wants to be all the Pompadours and Dubarrys of history rolled into one, but she also says, I always goof. I pay my own bills. I want to choose the man. I do not permit men to choose me. So, this news just came to me today. Fashion editor and early supermodel China Machado died yesterday after suffering from cardiac arrest. Born Noelle de Souza Machado, she got her first big break after being photographed by legendary fashion photographer Richard Avedon. The Chinese-Portuguese-American was the first non-white individual to be on the cover of a major American magazine. This was the February issue of Harper's Bazaar in 1959. After joining the Cabinet, a group of models for the fashion house of Givenchy, Machado changed her name to China. As a runway model, she also worked for Christian Dior and Balenciaga. It was something of a controversy to publish the 1959 cover for fear that the southern United States, would abandon the magazine and they would lose advertisers. China did not discover until many years later that Richard Avedon, had threatened to quit working for the magazine if they did not publish the cover. And on Friday, Tucson resident, Robert Shelton, founder of Old Tucson Studios and longtime advocate for the Southern Arizona movie industry, died of natural causes at the age of 95. Old Tucson said that the Wild West themed park has draped several areas in black and white bunting to honor Shelton, including a museum named in his honor. Bob Shelton was a charismatic visionary who turned Tucson into the Hollywood of the desert, said Old Tucson general manager Terry Verhage. He was boastful, but he wasn't boastful, but he did boast about how once he had John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, Lee Marvin, and Burt Lancaster all working on films at the same time. Shelton founded Old Tucson, the company, in 1959, 20 years after Columbia Pictures built the town as a set for Arizona, an epic Western film starring Jean Arthur and William Holden. Shelton was involved in the production of more than 300 movies and television shows between 1959 and 1985, which is when he sold Old Tucson. And that's all the death I've got for today, folks. Join me next week for the year in review as we pay homage to the more significant deaths of the year and bury it. Here's Kay Bush's Wuthering Heights music video.
Walking through the high seas.